Let's go.
Should we perhaps explain why we're all dressed like this? Like wearing a...
Why not? Why not?
Are you looking at me?
So this is because you are the sponsor of the podcast before you know it yourself.
Give us money.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. That unpaid.
So we
That unpaid 3,000 liras is actually how you sponsored the podcast.
How to get merchandise for free.
that's genius.
Step 1, pretend you're having a podcast.
Yeah. Just know about this. There's a bowling club that they harass badgers in it.
They can see you through the iPad, but yeah.
That's fine. They get me. But no. To get on the a little bit more serious side.
Yes, sir.
Thank all of you again for making it happen. You took a huge commute to come from Gaziantep to see us. Thank you very much.
Only for this.
It's a great honor to have you on board. And the reason that you're wearing these beautiful mirrors from Mellivora is because first, they look great. I really like the design. I really like the design of the pants more.
They feel great.
These are all
They feel
Thailand's
it.
idea, man. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a fucking genius.
I really like it. Even the design on the back is his work.
Yeah.
That was smart. And I genuinely like the ear.
Yeah.
I saw it last night. That was a very gentle detail.
The what?
Yeah, the ear. The colorful around the ear of the badger.
Turn it back.
Yes, look. One ear is kind of broken.
Oh, damn.
It's imperfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Great job. And thank you very much. Something else that I learned about the podcast is that there are 2 unbroken podcasts out there in the world, and I didn't know that.
Really?
One of them is about lifting. The other one is just somebody
You said on YouTube.
Yes, whose surname is unbroken, and he has a podcast. I mean, whatever. It's just Michael. Yes, it's very hard.
That's what she said.
But I want to talk about Jiu-Jitsu, and I want to start it from where we are right now. You guys are preparing for competition. And I attended...
2 of us are.
Yes.
What?
Are you getting ready for the competition?
Kind of.
That's
What?
That's the answer we needed.
What?
Yes or no question. Kind of was not an option.
Well,
But
I mean, not that I want him to come, because otherwise I'll have to fight him or change my brackets. So
we'll see. It's not my priority right now. I have different things on my mind.
yeah,
I've decided for myself way long ago. Like I used to go there with everybody else and just compete just for the fun of it. But to be fair, I don't like losing. Like nobody likes losing, and like as much as it's fun to challenge yourself, etc. But you need to have that feeling that you prepared properly, which I don't at this stage. So I decided like if I don't prepare properly, then I'm not going to compete.
you never feel like you're prepared properly, though.
No, I do though.
I've never felt properly prepared.
But you haven't been competing for a good long time now.
Yeah, back in since 2022 when I busted my knee, that kind of freaked me out because there was a period where I couldn't teach, I couldn't do anything.
I'm gonna get that guy. I'm writing it down here.
I would prefer to get it myself, but you know, it is what it is. Maybe I still have time. Maybe I still will be able to.
But look, one thing that he just mentioned is that any sort of injury that he's going to pick up in a competition, he's going to affect his career for several months. Like he has a fucked up knee, he cannot teach. He's going to show up. Yeah, he can, but he's not going to enjoy it. He's with pain and not able to show the moves himself. He needs other people to do the job.
Anyways, I just wanted to put it out there that you're judging.
Not to mention that when I can't train, I emotionally to fill that space.
That, of course. There you go.
We are the judgmental.
Terrible.
I'm just gaining weight, so I'm like, if I don't prepare, I'm not going to compete.
You
Because
wouldn't
my part
dare
isn't
judge him.
competing. It's teaching.
Not yet.
That's my job.
Yes, you go. There we go. You know
And
your
then we'll
priority. But right now, I don't know how you were preparing, but we talked about this. You told me that you are not still checked in for, like.
Oh, my brain has this weird thing of giving me dopamine when the time comes.
So that's what I was about to ask. Okay, joke aside.
It's not a joke.
You are, joke and the whip aside, you are the most decorated Jiu-Jitsu practitioner in Mellivora. What is your approach? What is your approach? How do you prepare for competition?
I just want to mock you.
Smash
Spend in 2-3 years like it's not Speaking of which, did you see the thing I sent yesterday? What was it? Habib was very afraid of the. Send him 2-3 years. Amazon. I'm sorry. What is my approach?
Yeah.
My approach used to be when I wanted to go into the competition, I was getting very scared of and it would always be wrestlers. So like I don't have a good enough guard to go against wrestlers. So I would start watching instructionals, developing some moves, not to overwhelm myself, but like we're doing in the class right now. Just enough moves that I can go between covering the 80-20 of what's going to happen in the match, right? So 80% of the problems that I have, I'm going to focus on them with 20% of my moves. And I would drill those and I would just fight with people just doing those positions. Like, for example, my mount is good. But in the gym, there's almost nobody at my size. It's only the run that is my size. So when I was getting ready for the previous competitions, I would just play guard. And as soon as I swept someone, I would just go back to guard. I would either make a deal with them that I would do this, or if it was someone who wasn't going to do that, I would just put myself back in guard.
Mm-hmm.
So just to increase my mileage in that specific position. But if you think about it in Jiu-Jitsu, like 90% of your time is spent in open guard, right? So you're trying to pass guard, etc., etc. I want to have more mileage specific, so I would just put myself in those positions, and I think that's the.
So that it is still the approach. That's how you do it, or it was like it.
Right now, I can't put a real time on it, but it was actually after watching Less Impressed, More Involved guy, BJJ's video of guard retention. So I have now a very easy framework in my mind that doesn't overwhelm me. So I'm thinking when I'm playing any type of guard, especially open guard, I choose one hip and I fall on that hip. And I have two tasks with my arms. My forearm is framing always, and my near arm takes an initial connection. So apart from that, I don't have to think about anything else. As long as I fulfill these conditions, I won't easily get my guard back. So obviously I have my knees to my chest, I'm not overextending, I'm not trying to really get too much grips with my feet, but I'm using, my frames. And if I need to, I will do a low leg, which is another frame with my near side leg. Apart from that, I have my knee shield, etc. So I'm very comfortable right now. I don't know how it's going to be in competition. In the last competition I had, nobody gave me any trouble passing my guard. But the problem I've always had in competition, like you told me, is I'm just playing the game. I'm not fighting. And it's really annoying for me because I like the game. I don't like the fight. And it would be much better in a no time limit, but that's not fun for people to watch, and that's time constraint is going to be annoying for the organizers. So it's set in a 5-minute fashion where athletic people would just spaz and jump and get a point and then stall. So I just need to be more proactive with what I'm doing. That's why we're specifically working the grip fights. Because the thing that frustrated me the most was I have a technique, but in the competition, I'm not able to get the grip from my technique because they're just viciously fighting not to give you any kind of grips ever. So my biggest focus right now is to make sure I get my grips. And the 80-20 approach right now is, am I getting my grips? If I am, fine. If not, I'll just spend time doing that. So
right. And how far are you into the competition? How many months left?
It's less than a month.
30 days.
29.
5th
of April.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So in this competition, you are not gonna compete. I'm gonna get back to you about the competition, by the way, because you were the one who in 20 21 finally pulled me into competition for the first
You
time.
broke the guy's arm. Shame on you.
Yeah. And
Wasn't that AGP?
yes, it was
2022.
It was
March
20.
2022.
Yes, it was March 2022. Sorry, yeah, I said 2021.
We were in Kiev.
Yes, you guys were in
Yeah.
Kiev. Yeah. What?
The war broke out 1 month, less than 1 month after we left.
2 months
We could
ago.
have been stranded there.
Yes, yeah.
We were there in December. December
Yeah.
10th, 11th, something like that. And
Again,
the war broke out end of February or something. February something. And so 2 months, give or take.
mm.
It was a bit in the air. Nobody wants to.
Wow.
No, we like. It's like
No,
nothing.
when-
It's not
nobody-
gonna happen.
When
It's
we
not
were
gonna
going
happen.
to go, people were asking, "Are you not concerned that the war
The
might
war.
start?"
We were like,
Went.
no.
Just went. We had a nice time actually. We had a great time there. The competition was great.
What was that? ADCC?
AGP. Also
AJP? Mm.
They've done it 2 matches. I had 1 match, and that
Yeah,
one
badass
was
guy.
great because since then I started doing kettlebells. So
Mm. Because of that guy.
I lost to
Yes.
Vladimir.
Vladimir.
Yes, Vladimir.
Yeah.
Because I like to kind of test people and just see where the strength is at. And it's very rare for me to feel uncomfortable with somebody's strength at my weight class.
I remember that. I remember that. You
I
were.
held on to it. I was like, God damn, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And then there was a moment when the guy had me in like cross face and underhook, and I'm sitting there in my arms, and the runs yelling from there, "Get out of there!" I'm like, I can't, because he was like kept saying, I'm like, I would have,
But because it's just laying there, you know, like
I
his
looked
arms
like
are out,
I
like
was
he's
just
not
like
framing, he's not doing anything with his
he
arms.
wasn't
like,
just here. He was like, "Rah!" I was like squeezed completely. And then after the match, I was like, "Hey man, what do you do for strength?" And he was like, "Kettlebells." Then I realized that on his Instagram, he just had a bunch of videos where he's like throwing kettlebells around. And so I started experimenting with kettlebells.
But that dude was also very decorated. He had many
Yeah,
medals
he
that
was a
time that
judo.
you guys.
He was constantly competing in jiu-jitsu. Great
Didn't he
guy.
do like some ultra things, marathon, etc. also?
Yeah, he swam through Bosphorus 2 times. And, he was really.
Oh, he's an athlete.
He's an athlete, but he also had a full-time job. So he's like, a family man.
Yeah.
But the kettlebell thing really worked for me because I was like, I don't always get to go to the gym.
It really worked on you.
But the kettlebell
We
now,
can tell.
I like that because it's been 3 years that I'm regularly working with kettlebells, gradually increasing the weight. So these days, if I haven't sparred with anybody ever and I spar with them for the first time, I grab their wrist and their facial expression changes. They're like,
Yeah.
what just happened? And I like that because they're like trying to rip it off and I'm like, nah, it's not going anywhere.
Your arms are
That
crazy.
made a huge difference. And sometimes, muscles are great. You pick something up.
It helped most with your isometric strength and your grip strength, right?
Grip strength. Yeah. Grip strength and also in a dynamic sense. So the kettlebell moves are never just lift. It's a lot of motion, right? And I find that weirdly enough it's transferable to jiu-jitsu. Now I wouldn't say that we should just do that for strength. I still think squats and deadlifts are.
I think the only reason it worked for you was because you could really do it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because you're a
You don't
busy
need-
guy.
You don't need much space.
Yeah.
You don't need much equipment. And with very little equipment, you can do so much.
Yeah, you do 20, 25 minute workouts, right? In general.
Does it change? Weight
That's
loss.
all. 20, 25 minute workouts with your kettlebells.
Something like that. Yeah. Something like that. It's like a half an hour at most. Swings, Turkish get-ups, clean and jerks, different motions, and then gradually I'm now at like 24 and 28 kilos. It's not much for one arm, when you think about it. Like
It's
kettlebells.
not much.
No, but it's I
He's
see
a
the
lot.
difference. And then when I'm framing or when I'm getting an underhook.
You mean
when I'm
you do
getting
swings with 28?
Yes. What do you call this? I always confuse
Snatch?
I think it's a snatch, right? When you start from the swing position, you swing the kettlebell, then you turn it in the air all the way up to the snatch.
One arm snatch.
One arm snatches. I actually started checking out 32 kilo. Buying.
How many kilos do you do to get up? Turkish get up, do you do it?
You still do that?
That's awesome. I do a combo. I do 20, 24, 28. So I start
How heavy you do the Turkish get up?
I've done 28. I don't do Turkish get-ups now for a few months.
28?
I just do swings and It is getting warm in here.
Yeah, you can take it off and show off your arms after this
Cattleman
cattleman speech of yours. Yes, of course.
Huh? By the way, we didn't talk about any of our backgrounds. Just for the few viewers that we have, how many years we were doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we definitely are gonna get there. But go ahead if you're gonna talk about it.
Couch is sitting here. He's gonna start.
Let's
go in seniority.
Don't move that side too much because we're not gonna able to do.
Watch his face.
It was 2011 or two. Yeah, end of 2011, beginning of 2012. When I walked into this underground gym underneath a stadium in Belarus, an MMA gym, and my voice twitched when I said I wanted to work out. There were big, buff Russian guys in there, like hitting each other, and they're making sounds. They're like, "Boo, boo." And I was like, he turned to me and he's like, "What do you want?" It's like, "Чё хочешь?" I'm like, "Я хочу заниматься." "Я хочу заниматься." Freaked me out. And after starting with MMA, then I very quickly began just continuing with
In Belarus.
Yeah.
For how many years?
It's been what, 13 now?
No. In Belarus, for how long you kept doing it in there? And then
I mean, I came back to Turkey in 2015, but I didn't train between 2014 and 15. The 1 year, I think 2014, I didn't train at all because I was graduating from university. I was studying more. But other than that, I was always on the mats.
How old were you in 2011?
2014, he was like
23.
Wow. Okay. And how
In 2011, I was 21.
why did you get there and say I want to train? How it happened?
Why did I?
Yeah. Why did you walk into an MMA gym?
Why does any guy walk into a gym and to a fighting gym?
Okay, I can tell you why any guy would be different because not any guy is going to become a coach in jiu-jitsu. You later on.
I was
Just
completely
pick this up.
random, I think.
Oh, really?
Random, yeah. One day, the coach was absent, and I somehow gave the class. And then I was like, "Oh, this is nice. This is nice."
in Belarus or not?
Yeah, in Belarus. And then I liked that, but I never stuck with it. So then, when I came back to Ankara, there weren't many places to train, and there was this place in Camp Park, but the monthly membership was a bit high, and I wasn't working at the time, so I didn't have the money. I'm like if I can't train there, why don't I was a blue belt at the time, why don't I start somewhere? And if I manage to get 3 or 4 people, at least they can pay the rent. I had no purpose of like earning or anything. I just wanted to train. And so like it builds up after that.
But you were already a purple belt, were you?
No, I was a blue belt.
When we met,
Yes.
Purple.
I was a purple belt.
yeah, but you guys met much earlier than
2019.
I was a bad
No. He went there earlier. 2017.
I recently got promoted in 2016. I was a bad purple belt.
No, in 16 when we met, I was just trying it out. I mean,
Was it after you like the forums and the gym?
I went to Kent Park also.
Uh-huh.
We had a colleague, a female colleague, who
Yeah. Gizem and Mart, they were the
Yeah.
first to do
her
jiu-jitsu.
boyfriend at the time and now husband was a coach in Kent Park.
Oh, okay.
Kent Park was far from me. So every day, and I didn't have a car at the time, so going there, coming back, it was just a hassle. And then I was just constantly skipping classes, and when you do jiu-jitsu once a week, it just doesn't work.
I didn't have discipline. But keep going.
Coming from you.
That ball is having a big bar of steak.
Preparing for the competition, ladies and gentlemen. And so then she suggested, I didn't even know about your gym, and then she suggested that there's actually a place close by. And so I came and saw that, and for some reason I also struggled with the teaching style in Kent Park. So 2 different coaches, it wasn't very. I would go do a month, then not show up for 6 months. But with Iran, we started consistently training. I think I got injured or something, and then I took a break.
With your jaw.
Yeah, but then
What? His jaw?
early 2019.
You traveled to US.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I had to teeth removed and surgery, and then after that I didn't train for a long time.
You hurt your jaw.
I will kill you right now with a spoon.
I did not say anything.
Anyway,
I just paraphrased.
yes. So then when I was in US, it was weird because just as a tourist, I went to Marcelo Garcia's gym just to see what it's like.
I'm fucking jealous.
It was awesome. I met the guy. He was super sweet and very nice and very kind. And I was telling him, hey man, we got lots of fans of you in Turkey. And he was like, oh, really? It's amazing. And then as we got out of there, turns out Enzo Gracie's gym was nearby as well. And so I went there too. Now, at that time, I was so new to Jiu-Jitsu, I didn't know a lot of, famous world-class practitioners. So I saw Gary Tonin, who I knew from some Jiu-Jitsu matches and from MMA. I was like, oh, Gary Tonin. So I'm chatting with him and this Gordon Ryan passes by, and I have no idea who he is. And he gives me this look, and I'm like, who's this guy? And so, and I'm talking to Gary Tonin. I took a couple of pictures with him. He was very nice. And then I spoke to John Danaher, very nice. And I get out, I'm all excited, and I'm like, I think I'm going to do this. So I pick up the phone and I text him, and I'm like, what dates? What's the Jiu-Jitsu schedule? He's like, hey man, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in months. He's like, are you in Ankara? And I was like, no, but I'll be there in a couple of weeks. He's like, why don't you? Just tell me what the schedule is. And so already then I was like, I want to know what the schedule is. And I started with 2 times a week, moved to 3 times a week. And by November-ish of the same year, from January to November, that's when we went for my first competition.
It's 2019.
19.
Yeah.
It was a white belt competition. It was just chaos. I think it was the first Jiu-Jitsu competition
In Antalya.
Yeah. It was 2019.
I remember that. I had just joined.
It was chaos. First of all, just seeing that environment was amazing. I had some ridiculous matches. One, I had my match with a guy just when I triangled the guy.
That was that guy, right?
I triangled the guy and then he gets disqualified. And I look at the referee and I'm like, what just happened? So,
Smashed you.
I don't even know the rules. It's just very fresh. Then seeing the round battle this Bosnian guy who was like 130 kilos.
No more.
160
kilos.
Exactly.
We were saying that he's twice the size of
I weighed in 80 kilos.
Dude, he lost by points, 2-0. He was
he could win.
Everybody was losing their minds in that show. Like, we were yelling out of our minds. That was where I met Hanai brothers for the first time.
Actually, some guy from Sub only beat him that day.
Yes. No, but that guy, I think, is no longer training.
It was Deniz.
I saw him last time when I was a referee at Sub only. But
he was a referee in one of the competitions where we were. But that was also when I saw the brothers, Hanai brothers.
Yeah. They fought too,
already
right?
then.
Yes.
They fought too.
I actually fought Eat there.
Yeah, I know.
I lost by advantage.
So some of the matches were fire. Just being in that audience, watching it. And then for some unknown reason, I decided to enter the absolutes. And my first match, and why? And my first match was a 20-year-old Kuwaiti guy or Jordanian guy that weighs 110 kilos. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do here with this? And he would just, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get an underhook. And the guy just does this and comes, and I'm like, nah, no underhooks. So I sat down, all he did was just jump at me to pass my guy. It just, the whole thing was chaos. But then already I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing this for a while. And since then, obviously we have COVID in the middle, which is another story. But it's been now, I think if I put everything together, over 6.5 years, close to 7 years.
Deniz, how did you start?
How did I start?
Yeah.
I was doing Muay Thai for a couple of months, and then I switched to MMA. And then it was like there were days, like striking days, sparring days, and Fridays were the Jiu-Jitsu.
Training.
The wrestling or just like grappling. It was like, damn, this is good. And then somehow everything didn't work out because like the environment was kind of shit. It was bad, and then it was kind of far. So I was like, I was looking through the like, what should I do? And then I had to make a decision. Either I continue Muay Thai or do Jiu-Jitsu. And then I looked for the places in Ankara, like Jiu-Jitsu places. And then I called him. But before I called him, I sent a couple of messages to the Mellivora Instagram account. Probably Thailand hardly answered it. Because, you know...
Thailand wasn't there yet, was he?
He was. I was like doing this a year and 8 months or something. 7 months or something. And then it was like, I want to do Nogi. Not Gi. I want to do Nogi and gi. And I was like, I was doing MMA for a couple of months, blah 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 blah. And they didn't answer. And I was like, fuck, I should call them. And I called him. I was like,
I'm gonna do no gi.
Asshole. I was like, hey guys, what's the schedule? And I was like told me the schedule. He said, if you want to do gi, and I was like, no, I don't want to do gi.
Don't talk gi to me.
And then I asked, do you have any merch? It was like the sweatshirts and the rash guys. And he was like, because I saw the videos that you guys posted, the Mellivora thing. And he said, no, unfortunately. I was like, fuck. And then I showed up to the gym.
So he really didn't want to do jiu-jitsu.
He wanted-
He paid for merch and stayed for jiu-jitsu.
And then I went to the gym. Zafer was the owner of the gym.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a core memory. So I went downstairs. It was already like, fuck, this is an underground gym. This is so cool. And then the Muhammad Ali poster was there, and then the little couch area, and Zafer was sitting there with the dog. It was like this. It was like I was.
Deniz was like, I'm in the right place.
This is home.
This looks like a bad TV show.
It was like, welcome. But like, I was like, no, I didn't think that he was the owner. I was like, he's someone, you know. And then I think it was Deniz Hoca's class that day. I don't go. By the way, those times the beginner classes were like maximum 5 people. Yeah. So the first day that I showed up,
Dude, today, yeah.
Oh my god, it was so crowded today.
That's not even the most.
yeah. This is moderate day. And then there was Doğan abi, Deniz Hoca, and me. So there's no one to train. And Deniz Hoca always like for weeks until the big guy got. What was the name of the big guy that got beaten by another guy?
You
Ahmad?
can't ask this question. Well, who's the big
Big guy?
Savaş Çelik. Yeah.
Savaş Çelik.
Until that time, we were like maximum 5 people.
You're right. After that,
it's just like
yeah.
the next day,
Yeah.
10 people dropped in. The Adnan abi,
You're talking about the video that went viral.
Yes.
When a smaller
Yeah.
16
Yeah.
beat up the bigger
Yeah.
guy who was on social media saying, you can't beat
Yeah.
this. On the street, I
Here.
will kill you.
In the- oh,
There's
okay.
this bodybuilder was very famous
The
in
video
Turkey.
went
He's like 110 kilos, very tall, 2 meters probably.
Like it's literally
And he's
24
like,
hours, like 10
I will not be
people
beaten by a 70 kilo guy.
Beginner class is like 50
because the
people.
small guy took him down and started punching. So he ground and pounded him.
Not really hard though.
But not really
Yeah.
hard, exactly. He took it very easy, but the level of control was there, and it was so obvious that this bigger guy, much bigger guy, had nothing.
Just size.
He had nothing.
110 kilos.
He was just taking punishment and couldn't do anything. And that, I mean, more than anything you can put online, that was like a good branding for
Yeah.
this is the kind of advantage.
The guy's on Survivor by the way right now because of that.
He got the
Ah.
He did? Okay, but he did go on Survivor.
Such a story.
Anyway, so I was like, yeah, that's how it started. It was good. Until that time, we were like, people were dropping in. Like I remember like Deniz Hoca was like, me, Deniz Hoca were sitting. Doğan abi used to come to the classes at that time.
So Deniz used to really enjoy his
So you learn a lot of half.
Yeah, I was
and then
enjoying
he
it.
made
So you learn a lot of half court.
I did.
He still enjoys his time with you. I just don't.
I'm a little concerned. Why?
He loves his time.
Yeah, I love it.
It's okay, buddy. Tell the truth.
I'm big around my friends.
You need
Everybody loves his time.
I think that's peace out.
Yeah, that's how I started. I was enjoying the. But by the way, I need to say this. I wouldn't continue if it wasn't for the environment. Exactly. I was literally because that's the thing. As I said, people weren't all like they weren't all the same. It was ever changing. Like you come to the class one day and now you vanish. 2 months later you drop them again. 3 months are gone.
There is a continuity to our
There was no
team in
continuity.
Ankara.
Yeah.
And also the atmosphere is good because every bad apple kind of eventually is
Yeah, eliminate
out.
themselves.
They don't stay very long.
Yeah.
Like in Kent Park, I remember in that gym, every session was fighting for my life. I was just trying to survive it. I was having my ass kicked every session. Now, obviously, you have you have to go through that as a white belt. But in your team, I got two things that were different and that really worked for me. One was the instruction actually made sense to me. Because a lot of good practitioners can't teach. They say, do this, then do this, then do that. And you're like, but what if? And they're like, just do what I'm telling you. And you're like, and it's fine. I could never apply that stuff in real time. So your teaching style was great. And number two, the atmosphere. Anybody who came in aggressive and was really trying to, we had people who tried to hurt people, was very quickly having his ass handed to him, usually him, and then disappear after 2-3 seconds. We basically grew in such a way that organically we have a team of majority decent people. Even somebody who's kind of borderline comes in, they very quickly lean towards decent. Because they see that that's what is encouraged. So that makes a lot of sense. And, it's also what we see.
I haven't seen an instructor saying, I don't know. Because, I used to ask him a question, and he used to say, if he doesn't know, he's like, I don't know. Yep. You said, I don't know.
Well, he doesn't know.
That's
if I don't know, I don't know.
That is the thing that makes you trust people the most.
Yeah,
because if somebody has the humility of saying, I don't know, let me get back to you.
Yeah, of course.
There was a period, I think 2022, when I think I competed 5 times in a year. That was an intense year.
Yeah.
And in that year, I was taking privates with everyone as well, in addition to doing 3 times a week, just so we were doing once or twice privates. So in those privates, I could see up close exactly how he functions. And then it was interesting that we had situations where we would practice something, and as we were practicing, he would figure stuff out, and he wouldn't pretend that he knew. He would say, oh wait, this is interesting. How about we do this? And then on the spot, we would discover things, and we would come out of a class, and I would joke, good session today? I learned something. But that humility, it goes a long way.
I remember that was the reason I stayed too. Can I start my story?
Of course. I was about to come to you, yeah.
This fucker actually forced me to come to the Jiu-Jitsu. So I
used psychological manipulation.
He used physical manipulation.
Wow,
he used to choke me every day in the fucking office. So I was like, okay, let me go to fucking Jiu-Jitsu and get this guy off of me. So as you all know, I used to be a powerlifter. And
not anymore. You're not strong at all.
Yes, not at all strong. I used to be very
power
strong.
left.
Please tell so people can hear how much you deadlifted.
I didn't deadlift much, but my squat was very impressive. It was 255 kilos, which stayed in competition.
I remember that day.
Your body though.
98 kilos.
Were you 98 back then?
Yeah.
When I did the competition, yes. When I came to Jiu-Jitsu, I was 91.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You became the Turkish champion.
Yes.
I mean,
He broke the record.
He broke the
National record.
record.
now that could be contested because it was in a different organization, etc., etc. But that organization's stuff was harder because we couldn't wear knee wraps, etc.
Anyway, move on. Talk about me.
So, classic. So I was one of those guys like Savaş. Actually, I was retarded enough to think that I could beat Boss Ruta.
That hasn't changed.
Sorry, sir.
No
You were
worries.
saying.
Yeah, I was deluded enough to think I can beat Boss Rutan. By the way, I haven't watched any of Boss Rutan's fight. I was like, oh, this is a big guy. I'm a big guy. I mean, he's bigger than me, but I had this thing. I mean, I still have this thing that bodybuilder big guys are not as strong. So I was like, okay, I'm stronger than him. Hence, I can beat him. Yeah, it's a typical.
It's a tad better than a bodybuilder thinking they can beat up a mixed martial artist.
Yeah.
Because at least you have an objective attribute of physical strength. Yes. But it's still crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I mean, Boss Rutan?
Yes, it's like right now I'm pretty good at
I
jiu-jitsu.
watched his fights. It's just he would kill you.
Given my current understanding of fighting a bit, I know that even now, like right now, I could kill me before jiu-jitsu in probably 20 seconds.
And this is the same guy texting in a group saying that, do you think that Fionn Davies can leg lock me?
I still think
And then,
she could.
do you remember my answer? I said, you sound like you want this.
So you think
I think
Theo can?
Yeah, she could.
Yeah, man.
She's
Hell
world
yes.
class. Yeah,
Come on.
yeah it's not impossible.
It is
Like, if-
possible.
Yeah, I would have a fighting chance
10%.
against her, more than 10% for sure.
No,
No, she would probably have more than 50%.
She would have more.
50, yeah, more than 50.
Deniz is like,
legit.
I know
she's a professional.
I don't know, maybe. I don't
You know?
Maybe after.
And check it. Who do you think she rolls with?
Yeah.
Not your white belt dudes that walk in the gym. She was like world class, high caliber.
And like every day.
Now, given that's jiu-jitsu,
And
if
around the clock.
striking is in it, although I don't know any striking, my chances automatically increase because that's upper body strength, etc. difference.
So
But-
sorry for the silence from the story.
Yeah.
Back to the story.
Back to the story. So I was a powerlifter, and my record stayed for 2 years. Right now, the Turkish record for that weight class is 270 kilos, if I'm not mistaken. So 15 kilos more. Anyway, at that time, I was listening to Joe Rogan a lot. He kept talking about jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, this jiu-jitsu thing is awesome. I need to try it. But I knew if I try it, I would quit powerlifting. So I didn't do it because I had this lofty goal of breaking the world record on the squat. Anyways, I was given to his unit for a temporary time. And I remember like meeting him and he was like checking me out. I was like, okay, this big guy. He was probably thinking, okay, I can arm drag him. This is opening here and there.
No, he's looking at your neck.
Have you seen Equalizer? Denzel
Yes,
I
yes.
just looked at him and said, 30 seconds.
Yeah. So every day he would come and rear naked me at my desk and say, when you come, big guy, when you come, big guy.
Day.
For
Every second.
those of you who don't know what a rear naked choke is, it's a choke.
None of us were naked, unfortunately.
Fortunately for Elmar, you were not
For our
rear
viewers
naked.
out there.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll go there. And again, my thoughts entering that gym. You remember how big my legs, etc.
Oh,
So I was
yeah.
like, oh,
I think everyone does
but
that.
look at all these frail guys. I hope I don't break them. Like I should be extra nice.
He thought that about you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've told you that story.
He was all out. He looked around, he looked at you, he was like, I can take it.
And not this way, but you know, I'm nicer than that. Typically. Don't agree. So anyway, I
Back
wanted
then
to.
though, nobody really counted me as an instructor. They were like, "Where's the instructor?" Like I didn't do powerlifting. I didn't do any kind of lifting back then, so I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Bro, in 2019 when I joined, you were jacked.
2019.
Yes.
You were lean. And
You were lean and
Yeah.
you had muscles a lot. I
He
remember
had
you.
muscles though, it's just not physical.
Yeah. How dare you?
I mean, this right.
But he was fat back then.
I was not fat.
I mean, at least to my sister, you look.
That's another good story. Yeah.
Sorry for.
Yeah, no, it's- anyways, I go and I was like, I hope I don't break this. And I go roll with Elmar. Elmar is for the viewers.
And he purposefully
Yeah.
came to me because you fixed the station.
I know he's the big boss. Everybody's talking up to him. I don't have that in me at all. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and fight him, and I'm not gonna take it easy. So I went and I waited for him, and
Dude,
I
he was
go.
skipping the line
Yeah.
just to find the right moment.
Because I didn't want him to get tired, you know, and then I'm doing it with him tired. And I him making bitchy excuses. How wrong was that? And he, for the viewers, he's 13 years older than me. He was 20 kilos, 45 pounds lighter than me. And obviously weaker than me. Sorry.
Keep going.
So,
Definitely smarter.
debatable. Wiser for sure. So anyways, I go in and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I understand that his legs are here, but what's stopping me from going forward? Like, I can't go backward, but why am I not? So I didn't understand that he's... Anyway, he got me a triangle, and I wasn't tapping. You know, I was close, but I wasn't tapping because I have the dog in me. And then at one point, he's like, hey man, you can tap. And his legs started hurting. He's like, hey man, you can tap. I was like, ah, fuck it. Okay. So I tapped.
This is
1 minute
version of the story, but it's okay.
1 minute is what it took. So I was like, fuck, if this old guy can beat me in 1 minute,
What would Boss Rutten do to me?
I need to be doing this shit. And that for the remainder of that night, I got my ass handed to me by everyone. Because if you're in a jiu-jitsu gym, it's like, oh, muscly guy, let me see if my techniques work. And everybody.
Who was it? Was it Hamza who said when you see a big guy, you don't say, oh shit. You say, how interesting.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, and on that night I actually slammed Sardar.
But you felt
He tried on me. I just lifted him up. I didn't slam him, but I lifted him up and hit him on the ground, and he was like, "What the fuck?" Bro? Not really slammy though. I was like, I just lifted him, lifted him this much.
but we have always struggled with your physicality. Like we had always the funny story. Like that first triangle, I remember because my legs did hurt. So I have a lock.
That's what I'm saying.
I have the right angle, and I'm like, why does my leg hurt against his like neck and shoulders? That doesn't make any sense. But I felt like I was triangling a table or something. Like, that's what it felt like. And then one time, soon after that, I remember I got him in a footlock, straight footlock. And I got it, and I did it, and then it just, I don't know, maybe I put it in the wrong spot or whatever. At some point, my arm, like this spot starts changing color. I had a bruise from trying to footlock it. I'm like, hey man, this is not normal.
Yeah, I remember it was a very traumatic night. Also, since I was very strong, my foot muscles weren't as developed. So in Jiu-Jitsu, you use a lot of foot, and my feet were killing me after that. Because I'm like using all my leg strengths, but the equipment that I have on my foot is not enough. So it's like destroying. And I was just out of breath.
When you lift,
after
you really get used to shoes.
Mm.
Like I mean, I did it, obviously, I'm not sure, part of just without competition. I did powerlifting since I was 17. That was the first thing I struggled with when I started Jiu-Jitsu. I kept missing my step, hurting my toes.
Yeah,
my feet
for a
were really
long
weak. I
time.
remember
Same for me.
in Turkey when I came at the office, we used to play football. Every match I went to, I would twist my ankle. Every match. And somebody said, I think I'm just getting old, my feet. But then after Jiu-Jitsu, my feet got so much stronger.
Yeah.
Like it's a completely different thing now. Because 10 years later, my feet are stronger than I was at the age of
Yeah, that's for sure.
35.
Yeah, so
Now,
I
I
have-
mentioned, I've never realized that. Just remember what you want to say. I think this actually is a thing. There are a lot of people who came to Jiu-Jitsu and complained about their ankles hurting,
Yes.
which was very weird to me.
Yeah.
It's like we're not doing anything technically speaking
No,
with the
but
ankles.
think about
We're
it.
just stepping.
But let me ask you this.
Interesting.
In how many places in your, like, since I started Jiu-Jitsu, this actually freaked out people around me in the family and friends as well. Because I started soon after that preferring to walk barefoot at
Barefoot,
home.
yeah.
Like I always had the slippers or the shoes, or that. That was my comfort zone, the shoe. But walking barefoot in the garden, in the beach and everything. And
That's
then now
much
I'm a
healthier.
lot more comfortable. So in Jiu-Jitsu, weirdly enough, this is one of those underrated things that I don't think is talked about enough. We walk barefoot for 2 hours or whatever, however long the class takes. You walk, you climb, you use your feet to push off of it, different positions, 1 foot up, 1 foot down, etc. That is massive. People don't normally have that.
Yeah, they also improve your.
This is what I have to deal with every day.
What's your story, sir?
But I thought you said the story is over.
What's your story, sir?
So yeah,
And then tell us how you met Basma too.
he actually started around the same time as I did.
Yes.
So I have been.
He
doing
kept
Jiu-Jitsu-
insisting, by the way,
No.
for me to
You
join.
started earlier.
I started earlier than him, but he was
Because he started in the old gym in Tunali. Right? You came to the old gym.
I came to
Not in Tunali. What was the city?
Kuchugesa.
Yes,
You started
He did the same. Yeah.
And he probably started like a month.
I started a little bit earlier than him.
You came in the gym in Kuchikesat, which was a small gym as part of the
Yes,
other gym.
yeah.
He came to the other gym after we moved to the place over Aspala. That's where he
Yes, I came to over.
Ah.
Oh, there was another one.
Ah,
There was
okay.
another one before.
Ah.
You
Oh,
came,
Flex.
I remember you.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
You came before him.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Because he
Yes,
was doing
few
judo before.
I was doing judo
Yes,
back then. Yeah.
I remember once him and his wife were sitting there and I was doing judo and me being the idiot that I was like, oh yeah, you're doing judo. Would you be able to beat me? And he was like, yes. And I believe him. But
Well, I do remember the first time I sparred with you. I was like, this guy's
But I was
really good. Which
yeah,
is not a sentiment you normally get in jiu-jitsu. I'm like, why does he smell so good?
So I started in 2017 doing judo after a long time
This is in the university,
interest.
right?
Yes, in university's team. I had a very, very good friend, and I hope still he's out there happy and healthy somewhere, but it's been a long time that we do not know anything about each other. We were very close friends. We were very good friends, and he was a professional judoka. And he was away from the mat and competition for a long time because during professional competitions, he broke his arm and his bone snapped out.
Ouch.
And later on, he became a firefighter when we were in the second.
Stephen Miocic.
Yeah. His name was Stephen Miocic, but I really liked the guy, and he was always talking about judo. And this is 2000.
What's his name?
Mehdi. His name was Mehdi. And yes.
I mean, Aaron. We have it interrupted.
This is sorry.
Is he still living in Turkey?
No. This story is very old.
Oh, okay.
Back then, I was doing rock climbing. I had nothing. I had nothing to do with judo or jiu-jitsu. I was doing rock climbing, and he was a judoka. And this is somewhere around 2005-06. And then for many years, I was doing other sports until I learned about this judo academy at school in 2016. And in 2017, I joined, started doing judo. A very, very great master was there. And I continued judo until blue belt. So it was white belt, yellow, white, green, and blue. And then brown, and then black, and then the dance coming.
So before brown and blue.
Yes.
That's pretty high up.
It was. But it's because every 6 months you go for an exam and then you will have a new belt. Yes, exactly. And it was in 2019 that you in the office you were kept telling me, but there's a lot of throwing, and I was nagging about my trigger points. And he was like, but judo is safe. Jiu-Jitsu is safer. And one other friend also was talking about jiu-jitsu. And then once I just went to jiu-jitsu, and I met this gentleman in that
It's very
gym.
surprising. I was just thinking back in the day that when we met, I was so different back then.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah. There it is.
Regardless,
We all.
Huh?
He was like 10.
No, I'm surprised. Like
This is the last time
you
I'm
all-
telling you. For the dear viewers, we have this abusive relationship between us. He abuses me, I abuse him,
and then a few others.
and
He has a couple of videos.
Neither confirmed nor denied.
And then we started doing jiu-jitsu in 2019. And then in 2022, the beautiful COVID broke out. And now the gym is closed. The office was closed after, I never forget it, 17th of March 2020. The office, they closed the office. I was not in the office. I was in a very, very specific and important mission. They pulled us back from Edirne. And then we stayed home. And then one day, this gentleman texted me. I never forget it. That was a Wednesday.
Was it because he smelled good, or was it why didn't you pick me?
This
I was so
gentleman
jealous.
who
I'm not lying. Because I wanted to train too.
You know, but we couldn't go out.
Yeah, we
could.
could.
In
Yeah.
the streets.
Yeah, but and their house.
I was carrying a plastic bag from the market to pretend that I'm going shopping.
You were only allowed to go out to buy not even just anything,
Right.
like bread and stuff.
Yeah.
So he would buy bread and
Can I
then
say
walk to
something?
my house.
Why do you told that I wasn't born that
No, not.
Ironically.
He knows what happened in COVID, is what he's saying. He's saying it for the viewers.
I know.
So it's
You were in middle school or something? Maybe you remember this, you can't tell you
Fresh
not
into
to go out.
Fresh into college.
So something around in April it was that you called me.
Yeah.
So come over, and I thought it's a one-off thing. That I go there, we train
That's
first,
okay.
and then when I was in his place, it was very close to us. He said,
Did you kick him in the face the first session or?
no. That was in the gym later, and it was a slap. That was not a kick. And he said, let's do it more regularly. Okay, let's see you on Monday. Yeah, of course. That's great. Let's keep doing it. And he was a senior white belt to me.
By senior, he doesn't mean age.
No, you were teaching.
No, but we were at a point where Devram was still a purple belt.
Yeah. So
Yes.
He was technically a blue belt, but couldn't give a blue belt.
He couldn't promote anybody. So we had several white belts who were like full stripes, and we were, every time a blue belt from somewhere else would come, we would kill that person. But we were white belts. It was fun.
So he was teaching me. And he's in the back of his mind, he had a plan for me to become a blue belt.
Yes.
Already.
So he was already very systematic.
So we kept
All
doing
of us have
this
taken a lot from his.
for almost 3 days a week for like
During COVID.
during COVID. For like
Every week.
4 months. 4 months. We kept
And
doing
then
this.
as we were training, my son, who was staying here and studying here in Turkey, he was also just watching,
Yeah.
occasionally joining, and then gradually he started getting into it. And so that's how Alparslan started getting into it.
yes.
So you weren't there. But I
I
see
was-
your pictures.
I was there, but I wasn't his size, so he wouldn't get much out of
I
training with me. And my house wasn't close enough to him. And we weren't that close yet. We were talking about et cetera. We were already developing a good relationship, but we weren't that close. And we were like, yeah, they weren't either, but
So then somewhere in July, we one day, now the limitations are softened, you can go out, you can meet people. And he had mats in his house. So it's me, Devran, and Elmar. We go to his house. And he has been away from us for 4 months. He has been away. We are not hanging out. Yes. And he's sitting, and he has his arm back there. He has his frame open. And then we just, let's roll. And just in a second, I jump and triangle him. And it's like,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, right. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm so jealous.
I'm still very jealous.
He was so sad. He was like, that's not fair.
Because he wasn't training. Like, we were training other places, like me, Deniz, etc. But he wasn't joining much. And, like, outside of him, the person who was a really good teacher in terms of systematically teaching, etc.
Yes.
Like, I remember when I wanted to go compete, he just drew me a chart. The same one that I actually drew for you guys when I was like, did I draw it for you too? For Doğan and
You
Ozan?
did for me.
Okay, yes. So that's the one he did for me. So I was like, oh, goddamn, that's a very good way to approach this. And I was like so fucking jealous. I wanted to train too, but I couldn't. And then Kia was getting a free training.
Yeah,
Then I got trying a lot.
And to be fair, to be honest, the reason I wanted to train myself, and so when he started, I was like, this is too easy. I have to show him something, so then it becomes interesting for me.
Yeah, he was keep telling me.
I was trying my best to find people to train with. There was an Iraqi kid,
It's hard,
16-year-old, we were hanging out in the gym. I was like, hey man, let's do Jiu-Jitsu. But I couldn't get him to fight.
No, it was
Not seeing him.
And we had just moved to the new gym, and then COVID happened. And
Yes,
everything got
yes.
Oh yeah, the one with the judo mat.
So I
was clean mat.
So that was it. And I was telling him,
Big area.
Keto.
Big area.
I was just when we were outside, I was telling him about that night after COVID. Now you can go out. There's no quarantine. You can go
You
out.
told me too.
Do you remember that night? Do you remember that night?
Which one?
That it was Devran, me, you, Deniz Abi. We went to that gym in Kızılay.
Yes, I remember.
I broke my toe. You remember that? You weren't there that night.
You
Yeah,
broke your toe?
yeah. I broke my toe that
I
night.
broke my back.
Smile.
So I was telling him actually, that, dude, we show up. I mean, it doesn't matter wherever you go, we come there. So that was amazing. Yeah, that was a story. And since then I moved to Iran in 2022, and I was in a very good shape.
Like 2 years.
Yeah. It's 3 years.
2 years.
It's 2025.
And it's March. So like,
And it was, it was a little bit after Serbia that I went to Iran. And that's Serbia.
Damn, that was a good story.
The ADCC
Yeah, you know the
competition.
story.
That was so. That brings me.
That's
That brings me to this next question because we had a feeling that day after that competition.
What was it? Uh-oh.
I'm gonna quit.
Huh, really?
Oh yeah, I got my rib broken.
You too?
No,
We talked about it. I was like,
Your rib broke?
yes.
Yeah.
So I had one fight. I had one fight.
Yeah, his opponent was bad.
My opponent was a 17-year-old purple belt
Wizard.
MMA professional, 26-0.
Why are you competing? Intermediate.
It's intermediate.
ADCC
It's in the ADCC. And he competed like 3 other matches before me and finished all of them in like 4 seconds.
Just does
And with me, it took 10 seconds until he armbarred me.
Nice.
No, the others it was like 16 seconds for him was like 20 something seconds.
That dude was amazing. He was a great dude.
He was very nice.
He was a very nice kid. But then after that competition, but we enjoyed that competition all together. He got the bronze. That was a crazy fight. We were rooting for him. Yeah, that was a great.
Yes.
Yes,
I
that's
still
that.
have the pain here.
But then what's interesting? That competition really didn't go well for anybody. Even he got the bronze.
Yeah, he got the bronze. But
we were aiming at better. He lost. I lost. He
he's
lost.
the story of that competition, how he got to Serbia.
But
Yeah,
tell
I
me
got
what
off plane and got slammed. The competition.
Here's the thing.
I want to
After
say the
that
story
tournament-
for the podcast.
Yeah.
After the tournament, because that was what, June, July?
Yeah.
Right? We went to ADCC Turkey in September.
Yes, I couldn't come.
Do you remember?
I got my
how-
I remember your flight.
ACL. I got my ACL strength.
It's like that tournament really lit the fire on the
Yes, yes, it
And
did.
so when ADCC came, by that time, Alparslan was like, I'm gonna kill it.
Yes,
I was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
kill it. He was like, we all went to the competition. He had this crazy match with that black belt guy. What was his name?
I could.
Yeah. Ooh, what a match. We were throwing shit at the mats at the end. Like,
But that day
Yeah.
after
That
competition,
was great.
we went to the supermarket. We bought the steaks. We came home. I laid on the floor and I had terrible pain in my rib. And I was like, and we were talking with Elmar. I was like, maybe that's it. Let go of this shit.
This is the end of my career.
But then I went to Iran and I was in a very good shape for the ADCC Istanbul. But then I got my ACL stranded and yeah, since then I'm just on and off, as you can see. I'm the most improvising dude when I'm on the mat. So
He has put me in the worst submission I have ever experienced. Twisters know
The disrespectful trying.
disrespectful with the leg in.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I still don't
Any
know
tips?
how I
Improvise.
did that.
Don't
Hey,
improvise.
who do you want to use it on? That's not your business. I think it is my business. You know? There's learning first.
There is no triangle that would fit him and that leg.
I know.
It's just,
Yeah.
But when I said it brings me to this question, have you ever thought of quitting?
So many times.
Every time he rolls
Really?
with me.
No way! Every time he rolls with me.
Not every time.
All
Most
the
of the time, yeah. Busted my knee. When I busted my knee,
during COVID.
lost by points, senselessly. But I mean, during training sessions, every now and then, it doesn't go well. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, when students jump, Kanibasan is on him.
But what brings you
No.
back?
That was fine.
Flying trying.
No, it's just a thought.
Mm.
But then again, don't we always have those kind of thoughts?
Of course.
I mean,
I've never
I
had
should
thought
tell
of
you.
quitting jiu-jitsu, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
we're just
Because I
sometimes
think
it's broken
jiu-jitsu is
so
the thing
bad
that will give me mental health for the rest of my life. Because I need something to keep giving me a healthy dose of dopamine. Otherwise, I would do gambling, etc. I would get
Gaming.
Yeah, gaming. Yeah. My brain just needs this constant stimulation. So thank God jiu-jitsu exists, and it's never ending. So I always have something to think about.
For me, before the instructionals came out, it was like there was just YouTube, right? And there was just every now and then you would meet go to a seminar, like training with somebody else, and get what you could. And there weren't many people who trained jiu-jitsu in Ankara, and we did good for ourselves, but I always felt like it wasn't enough. And eventually, when you start to compete, and you're like you're feeling stuck, right? It's one thing to feel stuck, but when you can't find a solution to get out of there, it kind of frustrates you, And then at some point, I'm like, okay, maybe that's it, and that's maybe all I can do. That's that. So maybe I need to find something else. But then you start to understand that it's not just that. And your method of learning, just because you've done something for so long, doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it properly or you're doing it good. So you need to change your approach to it. I restarted learning jiu-jitsu since 2021, 22. Yeah. I threw everything out and then restarted. I'm still like constantly adding new things.
We are lucky. I mean, we really saw in our kind of growth in jiu-jitsu, we saw the beginning and the current stage of the explosion of jiu-jitsu instructionals. Because at the beginning, all we had is what you taught us and what we would grab from here and there. And a lot of stuff on YouTube were not very good quality.
No.
And so systematic instructionals, Daniel Marcelo Garcia was big for me. I mean, those instructionals were amazing. Laklan, excellent stuff. And then that really changed things in terms of how our team started developing, in terms of your teaching style, in terms of our self-learning, because Michelle and I, we are obsessive self-learners. If we put our mind to something, I mean, we will get what we can from you, then we will go and we'll do triple the time learning on our own. Like, there's no stopping. We're obsessed. And so the amount of, I mean, I think we were talking about it, I must have terabytes of instructionals on jiu-jitsu. Like at some point, I sat down and the nerd that I am, I made a prioritized plan of instructionals. Like, what are the things I feel like I absolutely must study? And then I would watch like one video, which is like an hour and a half a day. And I realized that I have my prioritized plan of like 3 years worth. And then I was like, oh, it's never happening. That was the first time it came dawn on me, like, no, you really need to focus on the specific things to learn and grow. Right? It was an important tool that suddenly became available to us.
Yes.
And I really changed everything for the team as well.
I remember the first day that I went was around 10th of November 2019. So I got my ass handed to me. I was excited to learn this thing that can defeat me. And I was immediately sent on a 10-day mission to Eskişehir. And there in the hotel, the first night when I arrived, I was like torrenting stuff. I was like, looking, and I knew Marcelo Garcia because of Tim Ferriss. And he had introduced Marcelo Garcia as the Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods combined of jiu-jitsu. I was like, okay, Marcelo Garcia it is. So I went and there was nothing. It was like Omoplata DVD or something. So I downloaded everything I could. Then I started like finding new stuff on YouTube.
You're acknowledging pirating on the... Don't do it.
All right, thanks God.
I legally downloaded and paid for it.
Thanks God Craig Jones is out there that he talked about torrenting while he was back in Australia before lockdown.
A lot of this is just, you have to access it however you can.
And then I was watching YouTube videos and like, you kind of understand who is making sense and who is not. So I go to his room in the office. Basically, our relationship was just jiu-jitsu. So nothing work related was ever discussed between us. So I would go into his office. It's like, there's this bald guy who's explaining things very well. He's legit. It's like, he's good. It's like, Danaher it is. So I was like watching Danaher and Marcelo. And that was great. I was like watching Danaher on 2x, 3x, etc. every day.
And still it was
I was
slow.
annoying other people who
And still he was slow on 3x.
Yes. I was annoying other people who were there before me because I was like, oh no, this move's name is the flower sweep, not this sweep. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
But that was a big game changer. Like when at the beginning, obviously, this was still the old school time, before the instruction, before the BJJ fanatics. So we were trying to figure out how to play close guard. And you couldn't get anybody to close guard. And then there was one day where I was like, my legs are short. And I don't remember whose video I saw on YouTube. Somebody said, He likes a short play butterfly guard. I was like, oh, okay, let me just switch to butterfly guard. And since then, I started that. So obviously, whatever I learned from you, and then I was like, who does butterfly guard? Marcelo Garcia. I scraped internet for everything I could find about Marcelo Garcia. Every single match, position, instructional bit, whatever I could find for free. Then I started trying to see what does he do, and I realized this guy has an answer for everything. He literally has an answer for everything. So I started copying that, and then just constantly playing butterfly, and then expanding into where he expects guard and single leg eggs, and from there going to other. Like once you identify the path to learning, and then you're really passionate about learning that thing, there's no stopping you. You just constantly kind of advance on that path. And now we're all spoiled because there's just so much material out there. And you name whatever tiny bit of jiu-jitsu knowledge you want to master, there are like 10 instructions you can find at highest level. There are all kinds of different approaches and schools on the down.
Many of them free available on YouTube.
I mean, again, at the time, it wasn't the case.
It's
now,
very good stuff.
whether it is, instructions on BJJ Fanatics, whether it's on other platforms, whether you're talking on Patreon and stuff, just YouTube videos people are putting out there, it's just an explosion. It's widely available. And it's not obviously just jiu-jitsu learning. It's all kinds of learning that has happened on YouTube.
Yeah.
But for jiu-jitsu, it was essential because it is a kind of a thing you can't learn from a book. We were learning languages from books. I mean, it wasn't optimal, but it was possible. Jiu-jitsu, I look at the pictures of those old, Jiu-Jitsu University and stuff, Saulo Ribeiro, right?
Saulo and
then
Shanji.
some of the
I read the book.
I was like, like this just which part? There's no. But once the video started coming out, it was a game changer. And I remember we had a conversation about just watching the video and then pausing it and then copying the still because we were taking notes. You would take notes and then copy that still into our notes, and that made we were like, oh no, learning has been revolutionized. Just for
I remember the book. Actually, the first thing I downloaded was the book. And
Henzo's book was there too.
Henzo's I didn't, but Saulo's I
and Daniel wrote that book.
Yes. So I remember watching that, and it was talking about defense, the first pages, and it was like talking about back defense, how you can put it down, you can choose where you go. And I tried that with Deniz, and I got my first compliment. I was like, oh, this is so good. Because Deniz was kicking everybody's ass.
Oh, yeah. His arm bars were horrible.
Yes.
But I tell him, he says, I was not doing anything bad to anybody.
Shut up. He almost broke my arm at least 3 times. I literally couldn't move my arm at the full range of motion for days after each one of those times. And he was so quick. And then, you know how
he was a punisher.
Trying to do arm bars, and I my arm is hanging there, and then just as it's coming, nope, it's all thanks to him. I ate so many arm bars from Deniz. So now it's like, no, you're not getting on.
I didn't know any better back in the day. That's how we used to train.
Another thing that he was alluding to, first day that I came, I remember still with my ego, I was there, and I was rolling with you because you were a smaller guy, not as big as you are right now. And a few girls were there, and I was like, okay, let me not humiliate this guy in front of the girls. And thank God that I was nice enough that I didn't try that. Because I was like, I'll wait for when the girls are looking. And the next time I did it, I was just like, why am I flying? It's like, I almost felt like I have your back because I don't understand anything. But I was nice enough not to want to do that in front of the girls. Thank God. My own good. And then the next time I was like, whoa, what's happening?
Remember my first subligations I used to do?
He would just demoralize me. He would just do this and just discard
it. And not follow. And I was just like, come back here.
Let's just resume.
But he was like, how? This is not supposed to happen. I'm 100 kilos. And I'm like, and then I made a huge mistake. I said, you should do a butterfly guard. And
with your legs.
After that, people started flying across the gym. And I'm like, why the hell did he not stick with close guard or some random thing like that?
Do you remember that one day Sardar came back after his injuries and stuff? And in my house,
he used to be really good.
Yeah, I was like 2 stripes already, and he was frustrated. Why can't I pass his guard? Is my guard passing shit or is his guard good? I was like, I don't know. And then I had his arm behind his back, and then he triangled me with his arm behind his back. Literally, you remember that?
I do.
And this motherfucker was cheering for him. Of course, yeah, because he taught him
It's
more.
a never-ending supply of those stories. Like Mitch was in the office today in the office. Mitch was in the
I would
office today,
still
right? And I remember that guy.
I would root for anybody triangling you.
Mitch was a blue belt when I was a white belt. And he would kick my ass so bad. It was very hard because he was so athletic. He was 10 years older than me, and I was like the second oldest guy in the gym, and he was 10 years older than me. And he was never taking breaks. His cardio, we were all like, how does this guy not get tired? Kick everybody's ass. And he was on it. And then I was like, okay, I really need to figure this out because this guy can't keep beating me up. And so when we were rolling today, now this is like, 7 years later, I was like, I do remember the time when I couldn't do anything with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I was just like lying on my arm and waiting, okay, let me know when it's my turn.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But he's not training now, so.
No, he was not training regularly. But again, you see another thing about incremental improvement. The regular training still beats a talented and athletic guy who takes long breaks.
And
Yes.
again, not just regular training, proper training.
Yes.
That's what I was saying, because back in the day, we used to train 3 hours. 3-hour sessions, and we constantly got injured. We're like, just come back and, do what you gotta do. Because math time is good. Just, how do I get better? Like, people used to ask me,
That
how
was
do I
a
get better?
Brazilian
Jiu-Jitsu?
influence.
And then,
Luckily, now we have it
we,
down.
that's how, what we watched from the videos, like, how do you get better?
Train
Just train as much as you can. Train as much as you can, but, like, I'm not getting better.
Yeah, back then the answer to every question was like, oh, more mat time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I can't, like, I get submitted here. Why? How can I get out of
Don't
triangle?
get
Don't
caught.
get in the triangle.
Don't get caught, Paul.
Such an
I
unknown.
did not think about that. Really?
That's a point of instruction was, I mean, like obviously you were in front of our eyes and you were kind of a learning process of how to teach, right? And then I remember the first time I tried to teach you something basic like mount escapes or self-control escapes, and I was like, this is tough. I knew what I was trying to get him to do, but I didn't know how to get him to understand what I'm trying to tell him. Because when you have like 2 people, you can get them to do and then you correct. But when it's just me and him, then it's a different thing. Because I can't look from the dimension change. I'm involved, I'm not looking from the side and so on. But every basic thing, you start strategizing about how to get the person in front of you to understand the technique. And you constantly miss something, and then you learn from that. And so learning how to teach is another dimension altogether. Like learning how to learn is one thing, but learning how to teach is a completely different ballgame.
And learning how to teach people who don't have physical awareness, body awareness, is actually much more difficult.
How many times you were like, your right arm,
Your other right arm.
Your other right arm.
No, your other right arm.
But again, when I said like back in the days when I used to be different, is like I had so little tolerance for people who weren't able to understand, But obviously, when you
That's not true.
I feel
Inside
that
that.
because I was getting frustrated, I was getting angry, but that anger was to myself because I was like, why can't I explain this? Why isn't he understanding? And I was feeling inferior. But the problem is, like, the more you're able to understand what you're doing, better you're able to express it. And to be honest, throughout the years, I understood like many different approaches how to teach people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's definitely not one dimensional.
Yeah, they all work except they close with the group.
What is that?
I said it easy.
The ecological approach is you don't have any instruction. You just basically drill and the moves appear out of thin, which is correct. Like that's how Jiu-Jitsu was developed, right? So people found moves that work. But why reinvent the wheel? Why do you have to reinvent? It's already invented. Just take instruction and throw some of the.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
So this is the ecological approach.
Yeah, but I mean, this is Sauder's approach here.
Listen,
He calls
in
it.
the time when
It's not
information is readily available in video format, right? Easily, accessibly. To say that we're not going to acquire new techniques and add new techniques to our arsenal is just dumb. Okay,
I mean,
first.
he's not saying that.
It's just dumb. That you already have things out there. You just have to select the right. You have to have a bit of a, strict selection though. You can't just randomly add moves, right? But you cannot completely exclude that from the learning process. It doesn't make any sense. Secondly, he's not a very good ambassador for the ecological.
No.
He's not doing a great job convincing people.
He
comes across
great.
he comes across as not very patient, as very arrogant, as very pompous. The way he explains things is not very clear.
He's like the Trump of Jiu-Jitsu.
To be fair,
he tries to sound like an academician, and he's not.
Yeah.
And I've studied this. I read all the books about this. Come on.
I mean, to be fair, by the way, I'm not completely against it. And
Yeah, me either.
actually,
No,
I
the
find it
methods
much
can
better to use that kind of method for new beginners,
Oh,
especially.
exactly.
So if we break down how people learn into three groups, some people learn kinetically. Some people are more analytical, right? They hear better. They receive information more from just listening. And other people see and understand better from visualization, right? Some people prefer to just feel it. They don't understand how, they look at it, they don't understand it, they need to feel it. People who understand kinetically work better in that approach. So there's
Not
not,
necessarily
there's,
though. It's a
from my experience,
We're not talking about the learning style. Like kinetically,
you need to mix it.
yeah, exactly.
what I'm
That's the point.
From my experience, I found it works very good with some people.
That's literally what I'm using in my competition.
Yeah, but you're doing something else. What
Yeah.
you're saying is that let's try to handle this problem,
Yes.
right? Then your students handle that problem. Then they fail at handling that problem. Then you give them a little bit of information that they can absorb.
Yes.
But you do give them something.
Of
You don't
course.
just say,
Of course.
keep rolling until you figure it out.
No, of course not. Greg Saunders doesn't actually do that either. The problem is he explains it that way. Yes, he doesn't do that.
He does it on purpose. He does it just to be contrarian and
Exactly.
gets
Perhaps.
Yeah, but otherwise he doesn't do it. Otherwise there would be no way that he would have that good of a student.
Why would I not just look it up and listen? Take chess, for example, right? An activity that is not too dissimilar from you have pieces on the board, you have certain rule sets, and you operate within those rule sets. Do you know what's the fastest way for beginners to improve? In my experience, and I've trained 3 of my sons to get degrees in chess, right? At record times. Like they would get into one competition, fail miserably. Next competition, they're killing everybody. And they're like, what happened? How did these kids improve so fast? The simplest thing was pattern recognition and just loading as many chunks and patterns in their brain as fast as possible. The way I was doing it was this. I give you a set of exercises, 10 exercises, right? Chess positions. They try to solve them. But I don't say spend half an hour to solve them. I say spend 10 minutes to solve them. If you fail, look it up. You look it up, now you understand how, so you already spent some time to try to solve it. You failed. So you understand where the constraints of the position are. I give you the solution. I give you the solution. So there's an external input. You internalize it or not, or yes, depends. We finish 10,
Yes.
we go second round.
Yes.
Or I give you a certain break, a few days later we go a second round. And we do that several rounds. At the same, within the time where other kids are spending an hour on a position because their teacher tells them you have to find a solution, I just uploaded hundreds of positions within their brain because I gave them the answer. And then as we circle around, with each repetition, they're more likely to retain that solution in their brain, so they internalize it. I did it myself. My rating in chess jumped by 200 points within a year. So I went through like 7 circles of hell. We did like 1,000 positions and just 7 times. Now, this is not how it works at the highest level. That's a different conversation. But to go from really a beginner to like a competent, beginning level pro-ish, that's an approach to it. So if you're not receiving external input, it's not going to work. Even from the beginning.
Again, he doesn't say that he doesn't give any information. Greg Saunders. He gives some of the basics. It's not like just do this. He gives patterns, he gives exercises, and he also says like if you're going to do this, you need to do this, for example, right? Yeah. He explains the order.
He's just not a good ambassador, as he said.
He's not a good ambassador, first of all. And I think what he's trying to do is making statements like that. Oh, you just spent $200 on Daniel instruction. That was a waste of money.
Does he say that?
Yes.
Well,
and I'm like,
hey man,
Definitely wasn't.
but
you don't say that stuff, especially in front of this guy.
If the point is for him to be out there on the podcasts, to be seen, to be heard, then he's achieving his objective. So in a way, if that's the strategy, it's a successful strategy. We have to recognize that.
So we many times talked about this. We have had it, or you still have it most probably, reflected on our bio, either if it was on workday for me, and or if it is on Medium for you. That how Jiu-Jitsu influence our mindset outside the gym.
Mm.
You have written many articles about Jiu-Jitsu. You most probably are using that mindset in your daily interactions with people outside in the office, or I don't know, in your private life. How do you think Jiu-Jitsu influenced your life outside the gym?
I mean, the most obvious answer is it's a great way to understand that all the stress you experience is relative. Meaning, it's very easy for me to now sit in the office and then somebody comes and says, "Oh, we have this problem." I'm like, "What's the problem?" "Oh, we're about to miss the deadline on the reports." I start like chuckling, and I'm like, "I was being smashed by a 110-kilo guy yesterday. You think this is a problem?"
Hmm.
Like,
Who's on the thank you?
for example, right?
Don't you
It used to be you when you were fat, but anyway.
Never been 110 kilos.
Why are you shaming yourself? Your eyes are rolling down.
No, my point is, the one of these benefits for me is, I did exercise mostly to kind of compensate. I was the smallest kid in my class. I always had physical weakness. And so I had to compensate by lifting and trying to get stronger and stronger. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has changed that dynamic because I was strong, but I wasn't sure I could actually take on the person in front of me. So that changed now. Now I look at the person in front of me and I'm like, I know I can. So it gives you that confidence where you start letting go of your insecurities that you've knowingly or unknowingly carried since your childhood. And I find that this is especially true for men.
Mm.
And a lot of men carry those insecurities because that aggression usually is a sign of insecurity. In a managerial position, I find that if you're too aggressive, you need to find a way to handle that. And for me, Jiu-Jitsu was the answer. So it has helped me really tame my aggressiveness.
That's why you're not a deacon.
Yeah. I mean, much less than before. It's easier for me to control my emotions.
You're the best manager we've ever had.
I mean, it's easier for me to handle, I know. It's easier for me to deal with those kind of challenging situations.
That's why I don't like confidence.
But the thing is, you have to understand, if you're leading a team, people around you look up to you even the moments you don't realize. They're observing your reaction to even mundane things. You might think that, I just had an outburst. What's the big deal? That outburst will send a message, which will color the next interaction that people will have with you. They will hesitate to come to you with a problem. They will hesitate to acknowledge a mistake. They will hide information from you and so on. But if they see that, you know how Joko Willing says, right? Good. Right? Somebody comes to him with a serious problem and says, good. Why? Because a problem is an opportunity to figure things out differently, is an opportunity to enhance your skill set, is an opportunity for us to figure out how to communicate better and so on. And so, but you need some mental space to be able to do that. And thanks to Jiu-Jitsu, I can have that mental space. Like I'm not stressed. I don't feel like I have to prove myself every second or every day in a certain position. I come to work and my only priority is how can I help everybody perform better? So you're comfortable in your own skill. In a way, because it's a source of confidence that comes from the very primal thing, which is your ability to physically handle another human being. And you transfer it to an activity that has nothing to do with physicality. It's a discussion or negotiation in a meeting. It's handling the performance management conversation. It's dealing with a conflict between two parties, right? A lot of those conversations require you to be on your maximum patience, maximum energy. And if you do Jiu-Jitsu, it's not just health. Like the physical benefits, ability to defend yourself, you get healthier foot health or whatever other thing, your cardio gets better, you get more flexible, stronger, whatever. But it's the mental side of things that I find influences things better. I'll tell you one more thing, which I've told to you on different occasions. My 2 sons have done Jiu-Jitsu. They couldn't be more different character-wise. My oldest son was always successful, super successful, so overconfident that somehow that hurt him because he was overconfident in terms of, oh, I can do this in a week while most people can do it in a month. And that has created problems for him down the way. So what Jiu-Jitsu did in that case, it brought him back to earth. It's very hard to not be humble when you're having your ass kicked in a session.
Yeah.
So I like to say that if you don't understand it, you need to become humble in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
The humility will be beaten into you. Like, we will force you to understand that that's the only way to go. And so that's why you never see great Jiu-Jitsu practitioners who are not humble. I mean, I would say it's rare. Most of the people I see develop fast are usually the people who approach this humble. So they take the beating well, they try to really learn from it, and then the next step and the next step up. My second son was super shy, very closed off, not very confident in interaction with other people. After doing an extended amount of Jiu-Jitsu, he became he almost transitioned to an extroverted person. It was bizarre. He started having a lot of friends, he's very confident in public, completely changed. So in a way, they were different in terms of extroverted, introverted kind of aspects of their personality. And Jiu-Jitsu almost like balanced it out. It made both of them more grounded, both of them more serious for their age than their peers. They're very patient, both of them. They're not aggressive at all, So they're not looking for a fight, but they won't shy away from a fight either. So that's an interesting dynamic, especially, they were, 15, 16, 17-year-olds when they were doing it. And so I think for grown-ups, for adults in their 30s and their 40s, practicing Jiu-Jitsu can help you get over the kind of things that you may have known or may not have known that you've carried your entire life with you, and the things that have made your life difficult. So Jiu-Jitsu can help you handle those things better, right? And you can add a bit of a kind of discomfort by design into your life. It will always be good for you.
Voluntary hardship.
Because we have 2 comfortable lives. And then if you're talking about teenagers, especially boys. I mean, girls, I would say absolutely also should know how to defend themselves. But for boys, the problem is most boys think they are more dangerous than they are, which is why they end up getting into a lot of bullshit situations that they have no place being in. And so Jiu-Jitsu kind of explains to them from a very early age, no, you're not that kind of a badass. You can't beat
Boss Rutan.
You know what I'm saying?
Seeing red is not going to help
You see
you.
these tiny Marcelo Garcia guy, he could kill you.
Yeah.
With one arm tied behind his back. You know what I'm saying? So once you get that, what is objective reality check, you're actually shown that to hurt another person, this is how much you need to work for it, train for it, etc. It transforms your view on skill acquisition. It gives you a different sense of respect about, if I see Miki Musumeci on the street, 10 years ago, I may have thought I could take him. Right? But now, after seeing everything I'm seeing, everybody I see on the street, whether it's an overweight person, a skinny person, tall, I'm like, it could be killers.
Yeah.
You don't know. And so it changes your perspective on so many things, and it kind of really brings you to reality. You're not delusional anymore about a lot of things. And so for me, it's like level after level after level. I can talk about this for hours, but read my articles.
Yeah.
Medium.com/rational magazine.
How about you, Shao?
To add to that, I was thinking when he was talking, I wish I could take notes, but I'm going to ramble on.
Just read my article.
Well drinking.
It's all there.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, why? Because obviously, as a powerlifter, I could probably take over 99% of any.
Bradley Martin and 260 pounds.
Yeah. Like Bradley Martin can take over 99 people in the world, right? The 1% that are martial artists are different. So I was thinking, okay, I did not have the confidence that he was talking about, although I was objectively able to beat 99% of the people. And I was like thinking for myself, what
was Robin saying? He could hit you with earth.
He could hit you
Like,
with
he could
earth.
just lift you and slam you over.
So I was thinking, what changed with Jiu-Jitsu that gave me this confidence because I walk around much more comfortable in my own skin because I know Jiu-Jitsu. I feel I'm more relaxed. I feel like there was a situation when I went on a mission in Hatay, we felt like we were going to get kidnapped, and I didn't even have my heart rate increase. And I was like, okay, I got this handled if it needs to be handled. And that wasn't...
I will need a little more detail about that.
Oh, you don't know that?
No.
Okay, I'll tell that story. So, yeah, so that would be a good segue for that nice story.
No, don't tell that story on air. We can talk.
No, it's not a bad story. Yeah. So I found out the reasoning. So I like to use Alex Hormoz's quote. I think he says, self-confidence doesn't come from shouting positive affirmations to yourself in the mirror.
Yeah,
it comes from an undeniable track record of having done it and succeeding, right? So right now that you've actually fought so many times with actual sparring, which is the distinguishing factor of Jiu-Jitsu compared to other stuff, like being able to spar hard and not get injured and not get brain damage, etc. So you've done it so many times that as a man, that instinctive feeling of if shit hits the fan, I got this, is there. So the self-confidence comes from there, and like you said, it just works with every situation. Yeah, it just goes to every situation. And that doesn't even mean that you will win a fight. So for example, this thing, I went on a mission to Hatay, and it's so destroyed. I had no idea that it's so bad, right? So we get out, and we have to call a taxi. There's no button, right? So somebody who knows a taxi guy calls a taxi. He didn't open the taxi meter. We're already being ripped off. And there's this guy calling his son. And the son is dating a girl, doing something with the girl. He's like, I'm with this girl, Dad. I don't want to. Anyways, he comes, picks us up. He's obviously high or something. He's on drugs. He's not drunk, but he's on drugs. And he has, all throughout his driving, a pen like this in his hand, like really stiff. Like he's like this.
That's the driver.
That's a driver. And I have two female colleagues, the interpreters, with me. And they're in the back seat, I'm in the front seat. And we're going, I open Google Maps to see where we're going. And he's just taking us to the most ridiculously destroyed and barren places. Like there's no road. Like he took us to the road, and then there was a gate that had closed the road, which is what happened in Hatay that I later understand, but we didn't know at the time. And I was like, oh, this seems to be blocked, so we have to go somewhere else. So after a while, he was like, okay, are we being kidnapped here? You know, because he started also asking us questions, you know, why are you here? What's going on? So he was like, what is your club in English? He was like, he was trying to see, you know,
If you're
yeah. So I obviously like stayed calm, tried to see, okay, what can I do? I was like, okay, we were working with the government. We were helping him this so that he understands that, you know, he can't really mess with us. But throughout that thing,
If he already didn't.
yeah, but it's not very obvious. I have that, like when I have that jacket.
The main point of the story is not the event itself.
Yeah.
It's how he felt during it.
Of course.
Yes.
And that is the strangest thing.
And again, it's not even that I could physically overpower him. I'll get to that. So the girls were like getting freaked out. One of them was like saying in English. Luckily, the guy didn't know English. So, he's gonna kidnap us. I was like, relax. If it comes to that, we're gonna deal with that problem. So stoic, and I'm already thinking in my mind. Okay. At one point, when we went in this barren place, some rock hit the car. And he's like, oh, let me get out and check this. And he was like very fake sounding. He was like, okay, if something is going to happen, it's going to happen. So I'm already thinking in my mind, if it's one guy, weapon or not, I'll have to decide. Probably with a weapon, I will still not want to do anything. If he wants something, I will give him, right? If not, I can easily take him out if I can take the car and take us out, right? If it's several people, still, like you need to have crisis management skills, and many people who read the trainings don't really do it. It's like, I'll just be very friendly, and whatever they want, we give to them, and then, you know, it's going to be fixed. So I was like very calm, and I just...
If it's an unavoidable fight,
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
If it's an avoidable fight, you know.
Yeah, the idea is like really, really being not overreactive when something's happening. Because when you overreact in Jiu-Jitsu, also, you get tired, everything falls apart.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird way of seeping it into other stuff. So luckily nothing happened. You know, we got away. And, you know, we managed it too because, you know, I kept feeding him stuff that he would think that he shouldn't mess with us. But yeah, I think if it was the old me, it would be much harder.
It would be high stress.
Yeah, it would be very high stress. And then the high stress also seeps through. The guy will feel it.
Yeah,
He will-
escalate
yeah,
everything.
yes.
Tensions
Yeah.
rise.
Yeah.
Who knows? People will do wallet. I had an altercation a few years back. I was already doing jiu-jitsu for like 2-3 years.
Mm.
And
Don't
the
work
weird
too
thing
long.
is, so then while I'm talking to this gentleman and in the street in Ankara, in the back of my mind, I'm like, why am I not concerned at all? Like I was, listen, man, just go. Yeah. And in the back of my mind, so part of my brain is conversing with this person. The second part of my brain is like, wait a second, something is different here. Why are you not concerned about possibilities that can, and the third part of my brain is like, Andrea, go to the back. Like it was in my mind, there was that calculation process. I'm like, what am I doing? A double leg and it's asphalt. I don't want him to hit the head or whatever. Andrea, go to the back. That's just the standard path to kind of without harming the person physically to take him out, right? But then after it was over, for days, I even told him out. Listen, man, it was so weird. I've been in physical altercations before, and you're always stressed because you think it's like 50-50 shot, right? I get the guy and he gets. This time, I was just so relaxed that I was like, what is going on? It's just an unusual feeling. And so it gives you that sense of, I can handle a situation. Now, obviously, the circumstances may be what they are, you may mishandle it, you may do that, but just to enter the situation and to have a kind of stable approach at that time makes a world of difference in terms of how stressed you are, in terms of how you can handle it. Just giving your brain that bandwidth to analyze and not just freak out and do something stupid, but to analyze and try to figure out what's the right way to go about this is a massive win. And I don't think this is, again, it is talked about, but perhaps not enough. It's a massive change that happens in you, and it takes an event like that for you to really kind of, wait, this is really qualitatively different from how I used to handle such situations in the past.
I'd name this emotional intelligence. When you grow, the best thing Jiu-Jitsu gives everybody, from my experience, is how to get acquainted with their emotions. Like, especially, I mean, in many cultures it's the same, but in Middle East I find it's not, maybe because we live here, but in general, especially men, they're pushed to avoid their emotions altogether. We don't talk about our emotions. It's just like, are you feeling good or bad? That's it. And most of the time,
2-3 years to Dagestan.
Exactly. But they are there, regardless.
Emotions, is that Spanish?
Exactly. So, like, you're put in a place somehow where you're forced to feel them, right? You feel frustration, you feel anxiety, you feel struggle, you feel claustrophobic, you feel your boundaries crossed, right? You don't want to be there. You want to get out there. You want to overpower. You feel belittled. You feel a lot of things, right? So this kind of makes you grow eventually, and it translates into everything that you guys say. This is physical altercation.
It's kind of an immersion therapy. Like
Yes,
you have to face.
It's a forceful therapy. Exactly.
You have to face the uncomfortable emotions, and then because you develop a trust in your partner, etc.,
Yes.
and the right partners.
That's one of the best things. Also, it builds trust.
You know what's interesting? This approach, by putting you literally within the kind of stressful situation that maybe you have avoided your entire life, or that will get you through other similar stressful situations in life. This is essentially what cognitive behavioral therapy is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to Stoicism, which is a favorite philosophy, like Seneca has written on anger, other writers, Stoic philosophers have written on handling different emotions, emotion of loss of a beloved person, for example, or whatever. And it is always comes down to make sure to introduce adversity into your life. So when another adversity happens, you're not entirely unfamiliar with the impact of that. And so this is precisely what Jiu-Jitsu does. I mean, those 2 hours, how many times we are in real time risking losing an arm, or leg, or getting choked out, or whatever. You're constantly dealing with that level of stress. And one way or another, it is practice for the time, because life will life will hand you some horrible stuff. Even if you live in the best country in the world, you don't confront war or poverty or anything, you will eventually lose the people you love. As a minimum, you will have a heartbreak or two, you will lose a job, some of your job proposals will not be accepted, you will lose in a competition against somebody else. All these things are inevitable. And because they're inevitable, it makes perfect sense to prepare. So Stoics have constantly said, do the hard work, whether it's like, gardening or like carrying things or military training, or many of them used to be professional athletes. And some of them were boxers, wrestlers, runners, or whatever. That's a preparation for that moment when you will be tested, because, make no mistake, you will be tested.
Yeah, treat your body rigorously, that it does not.
Obedient to the mind.
Yeah.
Seneca?
Savage the body,
Seneca.
civilize the mind.
Exactly. So that's very true. For me also, there are two things, two mindsets that are very introduced to my life after starting doing Jiu-Jitsu. One of them is related to stress. And many of the times when it comes and I feel stressed, I remember the times that I am caught in a body triangle or in a very bad situation. And I'm like, maybe if I turn my hip and get on my side, I may feel a little bit of a relief and feel better until I can find something and do something. And I sometimes think about it when I face stress. Maybe if I just do a little bit of adjustment, just not doing something crazy. I most certainly cannot get out of this easily. But maybe if I make a very little adjustment, I don't know, to my sleep, to my diet, or whatever, it can help. The other thing that I really like, and it came to me from Jiu-Jitsu and reading The Second Mountain, was about the community, being the member of the community.
That's what I want to ask you.
And feeling the belonging. And the fact that you can travel around the world and then feel yourself belong to a community. You can, like the other day in Cairo, I was training in the gym. And for that night, I did not have my black t-shirt. So I wore my Jiu-Jitsu t-shirt on. And I was lifting. And just a young boy came to me and said, do you do Jiu-Jitsu? I said, yes. Where? And the communication started. We started talking. The conversation was nice. And he said, I'm doing it. Have you been to this Jiu-Jitsu club? And I said, yes, they're great. So that feeling of being a member of a community, that was great. That was the feeling that you also reminded me of when I was going to my assignment to Iran. The night before going, so that do you want to show up and just say goodbye to the team members? And that was amazing and had a huge impact on my feeling of belonging to a community at all times. That's a great feeling. And the mindset that I keep carrying with myself around, and the feeling that you want to build more communities also as such. Because the bond that we have in this community is one of those bonds that is not easily breakable. Right?
Yeah.
So that was the thing that I really enjoyed.
I want to add to that, but let's hear Deniz.
From Deniz.
No, everybody's talking.
How Jiu-Jitsu mindset affected your life outside gym?
Okay, so I don't think it's a Jiu-Jitsu mindset, because when I first introduced to the gym, I was like, what to call this? So it felt like that if it was the first time that I felt like if I work on something, that I can achieve it. Is it like I was the best athlete in the family, nor the student. I'm still not the best student in the family, but we know.
we know from experience.
Trigger! You should have said something. I couldn't let that opportunity slide.
Be nice to him. What I get to do
They're
that.
fighting over who's actually
No,
who should
I'm
actually abuse it.
not really. I'm actually being very protective to my little brother right now. When I abuse it,
Are
comes
you
from
though?
a place of love. I can't see other people abusing.
He's just annoyed that I'm quicker.
Yeah, keep going.
So yeah, that was the first time when I thought if I work on something, then I can achieve it. And then after that, like I obviously met with all of you, but I felt like so a little bit of backstory, like background story. So I had the same friend group for 15 years. No one knew, no one went out, no one came in. So for 15 straight years, consecutive years, I had the same people.
Are you in a cult or something?
No, it's like
He is in one now.
I am.
He hasn't technically.
Look at me.
We're sitting in a round table with all the same clothes.
He has a tattoo. The property of Andrew Tate.
So yeah, I was like, so once you spend so much time with the same people, like I literally grew up with them. So it's like I had no one around me except for them. So I didn't know any better. So once I came here and I met with the Veroja, Shop, and you, other, as well as the other people, I was like, okay,
Some of them are good influence and some of them are really bad.
everyone is had a good term with them. So it's like,
Go for it. I can't stop you.
It's like, this is the biggest takeaway. You might do jiu-jitsu for years and you can still be a horrible person.
Of course.
Yeah.
You don't know him, right? Not me.
so it's like, shit, my friend group is fucked up.
Jiu-Jitsu made
the rest of my
friends. Deniz,
Oh my god.
Have you ever told them that?
We don't talk anymore. So
We don't
really? Yeah.
It's like, fuck you guys, you don't do jiu-jitsu, you suck.
A year and
I don't think it's because of the
He's
jiu-jitsu.
very cold.
You mean character-wise?
Everyone just
They-
don't
no,
want
no,
to accept
they-
this.
they
How?
No.
In what universe?
It's like, what do you mean?
Are you gonna leave me
First
too?
of all,
No,
he's talking about
No, what the fuck? How is that even true?
He's talking about it as a positive thing.
Yes.
Let him-
Exactly, I understand. No. What I'm confused about is how is this environment better than what you had?
What kind of friends you must
Exactly, that's
We
what-
are an upgrade.
So it was like, holy shit, they're having a bad influence in my life. They're like, these are the good people. So I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
Calm, calm.
I'm not sure where this conversation will go.
No,
What did you do to this kid?
actually, on the first day, you got me to mount, and you were being really nice. And then the shop had rolled into
Now it's coming.
And at the corner, he told you, he's a strong guy. And I was like, you do lifting? I was like, in the mount, I did. Oh, okay. And then you literally took my arms and you double arm barred me. Like,
Who, me or him?
him.
Oh,
No,
God.
you. He
He
shouted
was-
at you. He was like, he's
he
a
was-
strong guy. Yeah, you did.
Fuck you. See?
I must have done it very gently.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Unlike some people.
I have been nothing but gentle to him physically. Psychological. I mean, yeah, now that I think of it.
I have the video and everything. Like, plural. Everything is
Do you want to edit? Do you want me to send you some clips you can edit over this part of the
I don't
conversation?
think you can. It's gonna get demonetized. What do you? That's abuse.
No, we're gonna send the PG-13 one.
I don't think there's a PG-13 one.
Hates the audience so much.
Well, you wanted to add something.
Yes, about the community, that's what I was thinking. So, I keep thinking about life in these terms, and my brain has a circular way of thinking. So, once I was at a very unrelated, at a friend's preaching thing. My friend Kevin, hello Kevin. So he's a very good friend.
He's amazing, guy.
Yes, he's amazing, and he's like an older brother to me. And he's not a preacher. He's He's very successful in his business, etc. And
Are you talking about the religion? Preacher?
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
but no, he's part of a church. That's what Christians do. The church is more than one person coming together and talking. So I was thinking, I went to one of his talks because he invited me and I wanted to, he was my friend. And I was like, damn, this is such a good conversation. And I was thinking about our talks, like the Baggers talks, and we discuss good stuff. Today we're discussing Jiu-Jitsu, but normally we talk about problems, life, philosophies, etc.
Books.
And I was like, okay, so religion, and that's what Brett Weinstein said. Weinstein, which one?
Weinstein.
Weinstein. It's like religion used to be people coming together and talking about a problem and finding solutions to a problem. As a community, exactly. So I was like, okay, so this community is very useful here. And again, bringing back to Jiu-Jitsu, I personally have had a very interesting upbringing in a way that my father is from Azerbaijani ethnicity, my mother is Persian ethnicity. And I live in an unrelated place in Iran because that was a neutral place to both of them. So I was emotionally bullied in school. Physically, I couldn't do shit because I would beat the shit out of them. But, emotionally, I didn't belong. And we had zero relatives in Iran. Zero relatives. Right? So I never had this sense of belonging. And then after a while, I come to Turkey, which is a whole different country, so I don't have a sense of belonging here. And the first time that I really, really felt the sense of belonging was in Jiu-Jitsu. And it's very interesting. The community is very different because I have people that I really, really trust here. Right? You're all my good friends, but out of all of you, Devran and Deniz are people that I know I can roll with and they will never hurt me. Like, I don't trust you two the same amount.
You shouldn't.
But, and
To
I...
be fair, I can't overpower him. I told you the other day to your face, if I can overpower him, I will beat the shit out of him. That he would not
beat the shit out of him, but he wouldn't hurt me because... Okay, I will talk about. I trust him more. No, but I want to
excluded yourself.
Of course you did, because you can't do shit.
No. That's not a thing. Because he treats me like an older brother. We are more like rivals, right? So I trust him more, and I will say why. And that's very, very high praise because I trust you so much. It's unbelievable. And when I tell people, I make sure to explain to them. Although we have this whole rivalry thing going on. We roll and it gets really heated, we throw each other off, but I know if you have my joint somewhere, you're not gonna break it. Doesn't matter if I don't have, you're not gonna hurt me. So, and that's...
You have to explain to him that he shouldn't trust that. I think...
Let him continue.
No, but I really
let him lower his guard.
It's like he has never hurt me. He could. When he could, he still can. So, this is a different kind of trust because you trust people and they can't do anything. So that's not Zahavian signaling, right? Do you know what Zahavian signaling is? Zahavian signaling is in order for a signal to be genuine, it needs to be expensive. Like for example, what is the flashy version? Peacock. So the reason a peacock is so flashy is in mating, it goes and opens flashiness and it says, look. I am so flashy, I'm a very easy prey for predators. So if I have survived, it means I'm genetically very fit. So if you have my offspring, you're a winner, right? So that's a very expensive signal to carry in a
So who's the people?
Martian line.
I'm the cock.
He doesn't need a signal.
So and it's like you can trust friends. You can say, "Oh, this is a nice friend. This is a nice colleague, etc." But like I know for a fact that you can't hurt me, and this is an ego battle, right? You're fighting, you're men, right? You still wouldn't hurt me, even if you're frustrated. That like for example with the run, we both got frustrated every once in a while, right? And we want to beat each other, and if you can't, you get frustrated. So it merits that sometimes people let that really get out of hand and hurt you because they really want to get that submission. If I'm spazzing out of it, they're like, okay, fuck this guy. I want my submission. I want to feel that I won, so I'm going to hurt him for my own benefit. And this makes it really safe to trust a person because you have seen the expensive signal being there and they haven't hurt you. So the reason I'm saying that I trust him, for example, more than Veron, which is very, very high praise, is when I had my surgery and I could not even move, I still wanted to train. I went with him and we were training wrestling. and I was winning every exchange. How? Because he was allowed. Yeah. If he even got like a little annoyed that this guy is winning all the things, he could have
No.
you know.
I mean,
But it's
we
like
all know that about
genius.
Deniz. I mean,
Yeah.
the number of times that I've given him shit
Yeah.
while tapping. At some point, I was like, this guy's just gonna elbow me in the face. Eventually, that's gonna happen. Like every time I'm like getting something, and one arm, I'm like, should I just in case? And he's never one time lost his cool. So I will keep testing your limits.
You're never safe.
Yeah, that's real friendship and loyalty.
Can I take it somewhere interesting that you actually?
Thank you. Thank you.
The interesting thing that you brought up when you spoke about being in a city without a community, basically feeling excluded. I think you spoke about the church and the sense of community that you see there. The truth that it just occurred to me now is you realize that we have always traditionally in the past had either rural family relationships and community, or extended family that happens to live in the same city community, right? Neighbors, increasingly in an urban setting, is less and less a sense of community. Most of the time, we don't even know who our neighbors are. So the sense of community is not a common thing in an urban setting. When I was a child, I remember so many times, for weeks, our house was a host of 3-4 families, my cousins, my uncles, aunts. I don't see that anymore in our family in Azerbaijan, for example. And I see that less and less in every other country that I've been to. But my point is that we all need and feel a strong urge to have that. And a church, for example, is an example of people coming together for a different reason. But that the reason is secondary. It's the need to be together with a group of like-minded people that is really bringing them together. And this community feel in a setting of a big city is perhaps something that is essential because we all crave it. We can't probably articulate it. We probably don't even realize it.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have that is a big driving factor why a lot of people keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know what's interesting about this?
We're not masochists all coming here and having asses kicked,
Some
But just to be in that environment, 2 hours there, like I'm almost told that when you don't do jiu-jitsu for 2-3 weeks in the office and like we notice the change. I was told that many times. And when they see me train regularly, that emotional, mental balance is always there. So it does have a very real impact. And I think in the context of cities especially, it's a big deal that, again, something that just occurred to me because of your example.
It's very true. Very true.
And the good thing about it is like, what is a community, right? A group of people with a shared goal. And like you can find that community everywhere. Right now I'm going to Georgia and I'm going to stay at Max's house because I just met the guy. We were doing jiu-jitsu. We love jiu-jitsu. And everything else becomes secondary. And like now we can trust each other. This guy does jiu-jitsu, I do jiu-jitsu. It just bypasses a lot of the trust issues, etc. Everything. And
also the same in Serbia. You have the
I have Milan in Serbia. I have Bojan in Serbia. I don't think we have enough time to talk about those stories, but these are beautiful people I've met just because of jiu-jitsu. Bojan famously said to me when I didn't have money.
I had in Azerbaijan. When I went to Greece, the black belt in the gym was somebody who knew that, and they were extremely welcoming and nice. When I was in States, completely I've never met any of these people. Again, the jiu-jitsu community, I went to different gyms, it was always the same reception.
How is it to start conversation? How is it to just get on the mat and touch people and get in rolling with people? This
and it's surprisingly easy to build a relationship. I mean, the guy from Ukraine who then had dramatic changes in his life because he had to join the army, he had to evacuate his family, his country is under a horrible invasion, and we kept in touch for a while. And despite the fact that he beat me up pretty convincingly, right after we were sitting and chatting together.
There's no enmity.
No, we didn't have that. It can happen.
It can.
Competitive environment.
It's much rarer.
But in jiu-jitsu, I find that you probably have much less of that in say kickboxing.
But that's, as you mentioned, also how humbling it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But this community factor, I think, is a
huge thing. Yeah, exactly.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very.
Thank you for bringing the level of the conversation back down again.
Yeah.
Because we're getting too deep.
With that, no. As she said, we can wrap this up. But gentlemen, thank
On
you.
a low note.
Thank you. Yes, you are. But gentlemen, that was great. That was amazing. We definitely are going to do this many more times.
Yeah.
But thank you. Thank you, guys. That was
We don't
amazing.
have to have Deniz next time.
No.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.